Hey everybody, this is Jace at riapulse.com. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to do sort of a ride along as I kick off a little research project that I'm working on. Since launching the platform a couple weeks ago, we've gotten tons of outreach from leaders at RIA firms, from investors in the space, and from wealth techs and other industry providers asking how do I use this for succession planning, acquisitions, finding the right ICP, competitive benchmarking. There's just a ton that you can do with the platform. And I thought rather than creating a video for each of those, I'll just kind of show you how I approach research using RIA Pulse, and maybe that'll give you some ideas about how you can use it as well. So before I jump in, I just want to mention that this is not meant to be a ranking. We're not trying to say which firms are the best or anything like that. We're just going to be looking at the data that's available in the platform. And if you have any questions about the data that you see, just know that we make all of that publicly available here in our guide. We explain exactly how everything is sourced and surfaced and calculated. Something that a lot of other folks don't do. We want to make sure that this is completely transparent to everybody. Um, a few other things is I'll be using the pro version of the tool, so there may be a handful of things that are available to me that you don't see if you're on the free or plus versions. So just check out the pricing page. We make that completely transparent as well. I'll also just mention that I use the dark mode. That's just a personal preference. I think it looks cooler that way. But if you prefer light mode, it will automatically adjust based on your system settings. So I'll dig into the firm's database. This is where you're likely going to start any kind of analysis or research process. And this is also an area where RIA Pulse, I think, shines above pretty much every other tool that I've seen. We've done the hard work. We codified every single reported ADV field and made it available in a unified sort of database format that can easily be searched and queried and filtered on any way you can possibly imagine. So just kind of going across the top, we'll talk about some of these controls before we start building a list. You've got this search bar where you can just start typing a firm name or an ID. We have our filter and column menu here. Here, like I said, we've classified every single reporting field and made it available as a field or a filter. You can scroll through this list and see all the different categories. Or if you don't know the exact thing you're looking for, you can just start typing based on what you are trying to get a hold of. So as an example, if I just start typing fee, I'm going to get every single field that has something to do with fees. We've applied categorization and keywords to this to make it really easy to find what you're looking for. As an example, if I type pension, yeah, I'm going to get all the fields that have pension in the name, but I've also got this services field. Now this is already on the page as a filter, but if I open that up, you can see, well, pension consulting is an option of this filter, so we expose it to you when you search for it. As you apply filters, the view is going to update, obviously. All applied filters are in this highlighted blue color. You can add filters to the page, but have them inactive. So you can quickly just go in and toggle things on and off. If I were to use the AUM filter and I wanted to say, between 100 million and 1 billion, I can just type that in. I can toggle it on and off this way. Super useful. You can add columns to the view as well. So if I wanted to say, average individual client AUM, there we go. That gets added to the page as well. And you can sort by any of these. Once you've built a list, you can save it as a view. If I could type correctly. And now you can come back to this whenever you want. Now, in the scenario I'm going to do today, I'm going to look at growing wealth management firms in the Midwest. So I've actually already prepped a view for us to start with, and I'll just collapse the sidebar so that we've got a little more real estate to work with. I'm going to walk through how I've set this up and kind of the intention of this list. So it's titled Midwest Wealth Management Firms 100 million to 1 billion, 3-year growth metrics. We have a ton of filters already applied. So I have adjusted the last reporting filter to 3 months. That just kind of keeps things recent and relevant to the current market. I'm using our classification filter here. This is a machine learning powered field. This is not something the firms report. We flag firms based on these 3 broad categories to help you narrow things down. There's a lot of interest in the wealth management space right now. And a lot of times, if you look for lists of RIAs, you're going to get asset managers or other institutional firms that don't do exactly the kind of work that you're looking for. So you can use these classification filters as sort of quick ways to narrow those things down in a broad way. I've got that AUM filter applied. I've got a state or region filter applied to get those Midwest firms. And then let's talk a little bit about these growth rate fields. So I have total AUM, total clients, as in headcount, and total employees on a compound annual growth rate for 3 years. This is a trailing growth rate, so you can look at exactly how that's calculated in the guide. But I really like these growth rate fields because they show you a lot more than just AUM growth. If we just look at AUM growth, yeah, we're going to see how quickly the book is growing, but you might not get some context about how that's happening. So, you might have a firm that's growing at 250%, but that's as a result of acquisitions and aggregation, and that might be exactly what you're looking for. But with these controls, you can really narrow that down contextually to your use case. I've got this filtered down to look for growth rates for AUM and clients, total clients, between 10% and 50%. Now, this because I'm looking for firms that are maybe growing more organically. I want firms where the AUM growth is roughly matching the client growth, because if one's growing by a certain percentage, the other should probably match that to some degree, while employee growth rate is low. And that's because what I'm trying to do is see what firms are growing, not because they're recruiting new advisors, not because they're adding people, but because they're really just deepening those relationships, maybe getting referrals. So right out the gate, we have this firm standing out to me, Watershed Private Wealth. Um, I hope they don't mind me opening this up and digging this in. I have not looked into this yet, but we'll open this up in a new tab. These guys are actually pretty close to me. I'm in Chicago, so maybe I'll give them a call after this. So we open this up, I can get a lot of detailed information about this firm. I can see, hey, they definitely specialize in high net worth individuals, very tiny little corporate or business work in there, and definitely some non-high net worth individuals as well. I can see how they've been tracking, and yeah, I mean, this looks like a really healthy growth pattern. So nothing standing out that would kind of detract from their growth story here. I can get all kind of core business information as I scroll down the page, client types, services provided, any business affiliations. Let's open that up as well. Here we can see, yep, they primarily custody at Schwab and Fidelity, brokerage at Fidelity as well. If they had any claimed affiliates, which I don't think they do, if any other firm was saying that, yeah, we're affiliated with Watershed Private Wealth, that would show up here. Let's open up the analytics. So here we're seeing that growth rate versus the S&P. So, really growing in excess of that. It's definitely not just market driven. And we can see that here as well. They have taken on tons of new high net worth clients, it looks like, over the years. So, great job to Watershed. If we scroll down, we're going to get some operational metrics like AUM per employee, sort of the average count size, clients per employee, things like that. And I won't go into every single tab just to keep this short and sweet, But here on the Filings tab, if I wanted to dig into the source data where all of this is coming from, I can actually explore their entire filing history here in RIA Pulse. And I can do that in a searchable way. So every single reported field on that paper ADV form is searchable by both value and by field label. So if I type in, AUM, I'm going to get all those AUM fields. If I type in, I don't know, like disclosure, anything related to those disclosures, so that entire ADV filing is here. And then if I want to get the brochures, I have those as well, both the latest ADV Part 2, Part 3, and all historical ones as well. So there's just a ton of information in here. Now, if I were particularly interested in this firm, I could add them to a watch list. So I've already got one set up. I'm going to call that Midwest Growers. That adds this firm to a watch list for me, and I can get alerts based on that firm. We also have this similar firms tab that's using machine learning as well to look at a whole lot of different bits of information, ratios, growth rates, and recommending firms that are similar to Watershed. So if I wanted to get a list of, 5 firms that are growing like this across the country, I could come in here and start adding those as well. So I'm going to go back to our list though. There's still a lot we can dig through here. I'll go ahead and just search or sort this by AUM growth. Here we have another really interesting one, Royal Oak Financial Group in Ohio, growing AUM at nearly 50% over the last 3 years. Total client growth, lagging that, but still kind of in the ballpark, while once again, employees not adding a whole lot. So let's open them up as well. We might see a little bit of a different story here. But kind of same idea. They have got a large high net worth client base, a healthy individual client base, and we could dig into those growth rates and really use this as a starting point for any in-depth research. Maybe we reach out to them, asking them, what their secret is. In fact, I might do that right after I get off this call. So there's just a ton of power in being able to add these filters. I can refine things even further by, say, maybe I want firms where their high net worth AUM is greater than 50% of their book. I can add that as well and just start narrowing this down and narrowing this down, exploring the data. And then if I want, I can export it out. And we'll just allow that, export that out. And now I can open that up as a CSV file and do some more work with it in Excel if I want. I can start cherry picking things, maybe run a benchmark, add a chart. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it here today. I've got some firms to go reach out to and ask them what their secret is. But hopefully this gives you a good idea of how you can get started with RIA Pulse for firm research. All right, that's it, guys. I'm going to leave it there to keep it short, but I hope that this was interesting, and I hope it gives you an idea of how you can use RIA Pulse for industry research. Take care.